We got to talk some Alabama recruiting. I know it was a big visit weekend because we saw Nick Saban on campus. Haven't seen Nick Saban a whole lot this offseason when it comes to helping out recruiting. What was the reaction this weekend to the GOAT showing up in T-Town?
Well, I think there was good reaction, at least from the Alabama side. You saw a lot of fans on social media, on BOL, really excited to see Coach back on campus, especially when you have three in-state five stars, top three players in the state on campus who are all currently uncommitted. And, a lot of people look at that as, well, they brought in the big guns to help recruit on this final weekend. But, one thing I don't think a lot of people realize is Kalen DeBoer wasn't on campus on Saturday. He was in Mississippi for Keelan Russell's sister's funeral. So, having Coach Saban over there on Saturday, I don't know if he was over there just because Kalen DeBoer wasn't there, but being there when Coach DeBoer wasn't there was certainly a big plus for Alabama. And then you have three guys who are on campus: Xavier Kroll, number 2 running back in the country; Cedarian Morgan, 5-star wide receiver; Tank Jones, 5-star edge rusher. These are guys who all grew up as Alabama fans. I mean, their entire life, all they've known about is Nick Saban and the success of the Alabama football program. So, being around Coach Saban, and really for the first time, these guys had not had a chance or an opportunity to really spend time speaking to him, or they never really got recruited by him. Tank Jones did meet him a couple years ago, but Cedarian Morgan wasn't offered by Alabama before Coach Saban's retirement. Xavier Kroll, same thing. So this was a good opportunity for those guys to be around him, talk to him about the program and what the University of Alabama can do for them. But it seemed like they had a great experience. We've got a couple commitment dates set with Kroll announcing his commitment on Thursday. Cedarian Morgan is going to be announcing on July the 2nd. Tank does not have a commitment date set quite yet, but he should be announcing probably sometime in July. We'll wait to see what his decision date ends up being.
All right. So with Morgan and Crowell having dates, do you feel better that Alabama lands both of them or none of them?
I think Alabama will at least land one. I think they'll have a really good chance to land two. With Kroll announcing on Thursday, Alabama's been the favorite for him since day one, pretty much. And he took the visit this weekend. He kind of planned it out that way, that he wanted to give Alabama the final trip. Was in Tuscaloosa multiple times during the spring, not just for one day. Each visit he went on was multiple days. And I think they're in really good position heading into the announcement on Thursday. Now, with Cedarian Morgan, he has been a lot of different places this month: Florida, Auburn, Georgia, Colorado. He's got some schools that are really putting forth a strong effort to try to pull him out of the state of Alabama. We know they're offering some really good NIL packages. Now, I think this weekend for Alabama is what was the conversations like in that regard? How strong were they going to go? How important is that going to be in the final decision? He's an Alabama fan, family Alabama fans. He's an in-state kid. So, can that have a little bit more of an impact on his commitment? So we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But him spending some time with Ryan Williams and a lot of the other guys on campus this weekend, certainly a big plus. And he's been to Tuscaloosa just about as much as anywhere else. So it's going to come down to the wire. But I think that Alabama is certainly heavy on his mind, but there's some other contenders still in the race.
All right. And as Sunday, it's full of action. So no surprise that Bama lands J.J. Finch, defensive lineman out of Indiana, as this show was loading up. Now, I'm looking at Alabama's commit list. Only 8 commits so far, so we know a flurry is coming. 2 on the defensive line. How many do they want to take on the defensive line, and is there any top targets that are identified right now?
Yeah, I think they love their defensive line commitment, especially the interior guys, Camarion Johnson from Muscle Shoals, who committed a few months ago and shut down his recruitment after the official visit with Miami, Auburn, Ole Miss really pressing to try to flip him away from Alabama. Of course, then you have J.J. Finch announcing his decision this weekend. This was a guy that they've heavily coveted since earlier this year. Received an offer in January, came in Tuscaloosa for the first day of spring practice, and really ever since then they've been making a strong push. Michigan, Tennessee, LSU. Those are some schools that he was very high on, and there was a lot of confidence coming out of the Tennessee side last week after his official visit in Knoxville. Took a visit down to Miami this weekend, but I think going into the weekend, he knew where he wanted to go. Give a lot of credit to Freddie Roach, the defensive line coach, for doing a great job recruiting him throughout the process. But as far as remaining defensive linemen, they certainly want to add a few more. Yeah, this was priority number one for them heading into this 2026 cycle. They have some big names that are still out there. Titan Davis out of St. Louis should be announcing here relatively soon. He took his final visit to Michigan this weekend. Alabama, Michigan, been the top two for a while. Been battling it out, and we have heard that he's going to make a decision shortly after the Michigan trip. But Alabama's got a strong chance to land him. Tank Jones, as we mentioned, he's another guy that has some positional flexibility. He's 6'4.5", 250 pounds. Been recruited, as an edge guy. I can kind of see him fitting in that bandit role for Alabama if he chooses to go there. You also have Nolan Wilson out of Mississippi, who has listed Alabama as his front runner for several months. But there's also some schools really fighting hard to get him. Auburn, Miami, where he was this weekend, and Ole Miss. So that's a recruitment that we're going to be watching closely. Elijah Golden is still out there. He went to Notre Dame this weekend, visited Alabama last week. I think that's probably trending for the Irish, but Alabama would take him. They would take 5-6 defensive linemen in this class if they could. But with the way they have recruited these elite guys, knowing that probably all of them are expecting a good NIL package, it's going to be impossible to land them all. But I think if they can land at least 2 more of these guys over the course of the next few weeks, they're going to feel really good about their defensive line class.
All right, Andrew Bone, Bama Online. You guys got updates rolling all day. Appreciate you taking a little time to drop by the Inside Scoop.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, Bama fans, tell me, out of the 5 stars that are committing soon, Cedarian Morgan and Xavier Curl, what do you guys think? Because I kind of think Alabama lands in both, but you guys let me know in the comment section. Am I crazy, or is this summer rain about to kick in and we're going to see a flurry of commitments? Let us know. Comment section below.